Hi, Rosemary. Okay, so as my first passage that is being used as my epigraph, it is as follows. It would mean getting up at 7 and cooking him eggs and bacon and toast and coffee and dawdling about in my nightgown and curlers after he'd left for work to wash up the dirty plates and make the bed. And then when he came home after a lively, fascinating day, he'd expect a big dinner. And I'd spend the evening washing up even more dirty plates till I felt into bed, utterly exhausted. Okay, so in this video, I will be examining the critical lens that deals with the gender double standard regarding social roles, excuse me. So the character Esther illustrates the role of a woman as a wife and a mother, which was typical for the woman during this time. They were the angel in the house, just as Coventry Patmore describes them, as solely a maid and a wife. So here, Plath is commenting on the role of a wife, pretty much just being restricted to the domestic sphere, which includes cleaning the house, cooking for her husband, essentially doing all the things that a woman who is restricted to the domestic sphere is expected to do. Plath clearly has a negative viewpoint on marriage. If she has her female protagonist totally against marriage and doesn't want to have kids. Like Miss Willard, Esther compares her life and does not want a life like that for herself because she thinks it's miserable. It states here that her husband is expecting to have a big dinner when he comes home from work. So he is allowed to go to work, but she's not. She is only able to cook for him. So in my second passage here, it states, the joke was that at my wedding, my grandfather would see I had all the caviar I could eat. It was a joke because I never intended to get married. And even if I did, my grandfather couldn't have afforded enough caviar unless he robbed the country club kitchen and carried it off in a suitcase. So it kind of has a joking feel to it, but in the beginning, this is page 30 in chapter 3, she clearly does not want to be married. She specifically states, I never intended to get married. For Esther, she's only in her teen years, and she already has the viewpoint that marriage is not the lifestyle she wants. So it's interesting because Plath is producing her work during a time that women are expected to get married. They want to get married, and here it's just very undesirable for Esther. So that comments on the gender roles here, the social roles that women are supposed to get married at a young age and then provide children and reproduce and then take care of them and take care of the husband. So any reader reading this would ask why. And in my third passage, I think Plath kind of illustrates why marriage and children aren't exactly ideal for everybody. Here she states, so I began to think maybe it was true that when you were married and had children, it was like being brainwashed. And afterward, you went about numb as a slave in some private, totalitarian state. Now notice Plath uses words such as brainwashed, numb, slave-like, totalitarian state to describe marriage, to describe a woman who has children. Clearly, this is not a desirable thing. Marriage is not desirable for Esther, and Plath is demonstrating this in her text. So going back to the angel in the house expression that is very common for women, here the angel in the house is not ideal. She is stating that having children is like you're being brainwashed. You're not able to function. So I think that's interesting. That definitely comments on the social roles here. And being a slave, pretty much, that in itself, being a slave to her husband, being a slave to the house, women were not able to enter the public sphere. So in other words, Plath comments on marriage and motherhood very negatively, which is the basis of this video and is the core of my analysis of Plath's The Bell Jar that comments on the gendered double standard regarding social roles. I hope you liked it. Thanks.